Sorry.
What if you can square root both of them?
Right, if you can square root both of them, then the first number you started with, you could square root. So you don't have to break it down. If you break it down and they're both able to be square rooted, then you should have just square rooted it from the get-go.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay?
Okay.
Lily.
Just to clarify with the 18 and the 9, that was with the dividing by 2, right?
Yes, so we took this 18, we divided by 2, so that took the square root away, right? We square rooted the a to the 18th, and that gave us a to the 9th. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Take a look at this one. Perfect square, non-perfect square. Look at your number first, 25. Is that a perfect square? Yes, so you put the whole thing on the perfect square side. So that's going to go here, 25, which means you won't have a number on the right side. Okay, just leave that blank. Then look at your x's. You have x to the 6th power. Can you take the square root of x to the 6th? Yes, it is divisible by 2, okay? So we're going to put that whole thing, x to the 6th, on the perfect side, which means there are no x's on the other side. Now look at your y. Is y to the 13th divisible by 2? No. So y to what power are you going to put on the perfect? To the 12th. Take the next lowest, or next highest, I guess you would say, exponent, y to the 12th. But that means we ditched one y. Where does that go? Under the non-perfect. Okay, so now you simplify this. This all equals what? 5 x to the 3rd, y to the 6th. So when you square root, you divide by 2, okay? Just be careful that you're not dividing the 25 by 2. You're taking the square root of 25, which is 5. The y over here. So because it was y to the 13th, you're breaking that into y to the 12th, because you can take that square root, but then you have 1 left over to make it 13. So that has to stay under the radical. Okay. Okay. Why don't you try number 6 right now? Try number 6. Okay. Who wants to give me a final answer here? What'd you get, Lincoln?
I got p to the 7th times q to the 4th times the square root of pqr.
Yes. I believe that is correct. I don't have it worked out, but that sounds like the right answer. So you break it down. P to the 15th is not an even number, so you need the next lowest, which would be p to the 14th, but that leaves you with a p left over. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, they would prefer alphabetical order, but it's not wrong. Okay, then your q, 9 is not divisible by 2, so you go down 1 to 8. That's divisible by 2, but then you have a q left over. And then r, this is r to the 1st, so that's not divisible by 2, so that's going to go there. So then when you simplify that, divide by 2 is p to the 7th. Notice that's what takes our radical away. We're taking the square root of p to the 4th, so don't put a radical there again. Ditch the radical. Q to the 4th, and then the square root of PQR. Good? Okay. Let's do number 12. So there's this -5 out in front. This stuff we're going to break down. So the perfect and the non-perfect. Make it plenty big because there's lots of pieces there. Starting with the number, 144. Is that a perfect square? Yeah. So you put the whole thing where? Left or right? On the left side. Put it on the perfect side, which means there's no number on the right side. Then you have x to the 16th. Is that a perfect square? Yeah. So put the whole thing on the left side, x to the 16th. Y to the 10th, is that a perfect square? It's divisible by 2, so put the whole thing there. Z to the 7th, is that a perfect square? No. What are we going to put on the left side? Z to the 6th, the next one down, which means you're left with what on the right side right now? Just a Z. Okay, so now take the square root. This whole thing, the square root of 144, is 12. What's the square root of x to the 16th? X to the 8th. Square root of y to the 10th? Y to the 5th. And then square root of z to the 6th? Z to the 3rd. Don't forget that you have this -5 out in front. What are you doing with that -5? Multiplication. So you have that, and then you just have the square root of z at the end. You can do one more simplification. -5 times 12 is a -60. X to the 8th, y to the 5th, z to the 3rd, rad z. Okay, questions on that? Okay, let's mix it up a little bit again, shall we? The good news is this is the same idea. You just have to change your number, okay? If it is a cube root, if that number is a 3 instead of a 2, what do you suppose we're doing?
Divided by 3.
Dividing by 3 instead of dividing by 2, okay? So you're going to do a to the m divided by 3 instead on this, which means now your simplifying gets a little bit fancier because now you aren't just looking for an even number. You're looking for a multiple of 3 when you start taking things apart. Okay, so it gets a little fancier, but I believe in you. You guys are good at this, right? So this one is basically saying x to the 3 divided by 3, right? This number divided by the outside number. What is that? It's just x to the 1st. So your answer here is x. Basically, you're saying if you cube root and cube, those are inverse operations. They're opposite of each other. They undo each other. So you end up with what would have been underneath by itself. Okay? Okay. So take a look at this one. And maybe you want to just do your list of perfect cubes somewhere nearby. 8, 27, 64, 2, 3, 4, 125, 216, 343. Am I right there? I think. Is it 216? Why am I questioning that today? Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. If we're going to break this down, it's whatever is a perfect cube and whatever is not a perfect cube. Look at the number 64. Is that a perfect cube? Yeah. So the whole thing goes here. M to the 9th. Is that a perfect cube?
No.
Perfect cube? Yes. Is it divisible by 3? Yes. Yeah, now we're dividing by 3 because of this guy, right? So m to the 3rd, which means that is not needed. You can just take the cube root right away. Okay, what's the cube root of 64? It's 4. What's the cube root of m to the 3rd? M. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so it's m to the 1st power. Okay. Okay, take a look at this one. 15. The cube root of p to the 7th. Is 7 divisible by 3? No. Okay, so now here's the deal. You can't just say, well, the next one down is 6 and go with that. You have to say, is the next one down divisible by 3 now? Okay, so 7 doesn't work. Go down 1. Is 6 divisible by 3? Yeah. Yes, so 6 is going to work here, but not because we just dropped down 1, because it is divisible by 3. So
you would have to drop down 2.
Sometimes you'll drop down 2. Okay, so what is the cube root of p to the 6th?
2.
It's p to the 6th divided by 3, which is p squared. Okay, this number divided by that number. But then you still have the cube root of p over here. So p squared times the cube root of p. Okay. Okay, go to 16. You've got this -3 out in front, so don't ditch the -3. But now we got to break this down into perfect cube and not perfect cube. So the number 40, look at your list. Which of these numbers is 40 divisible by? 8. So the perfect cube is 8. 8 times what gets you 40? That's a 5. Okay, now you have w to the 16th. Is 16 divisible by 3? So you can't put all 16 on the left side. What number are we going to put there? 15, because 15 is divisible by 3. So you're going to go w to the 15th. How many are you left over with? Just 1. So w over here. And now you can take the cube root. So negative 3. The cube root of 8 is 2. What's the cube root of w to the 15th? W to the 5th power. Okay, and we still have the cube root of 5w. So now simplify that. Negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. W to the 5th, the cube root of 5w. How's that? Okay, go down. What? Oh, not waiting. Go to 19. Okay, in number 19, is 32 a perfect cube? So look at your list of perfect cubes. What perfect cube is 32 divisible by? 8. Because there's the negative there, put the negative with the perfect side. What's going to go on the non-perfect side? Positive what? 4, right? Negative 8 times 4 will get us 32, negative 32. Okay, now look at your p's. Is p to the 17th, is 17 divisible by 3? Okay, what number are we going to put on the perfect side? 15. So if this is p to the 15th, then over here is p to what power? The second. You got to make it add up to 17. So that one we drop down by 2 because it has to be divisible by 3. Okay. Q to what power? The 6th. 8 is not divisible by 3. 7 is not divisible by 3. So 6 goes here, which means you have q to the 2nd power over there as well. This will never simplify, you guys. It should never, you should always leave this exactly how it started as long as you use the right numbers to begin with, okay? So simplify this. What's the cube root of negative 8? Negative 2. The cube root of p to the 15th? P to the 5th, 15 divided by 3. Q to what power? The 2nd. And then it's the cube root of 4, p squared, q squared, and you're done. How's that looking?